Long after the blood rivers carved their crimson paths across the ancient tomb, the world held its breath. Recap. Renegade Immortal, chapter 1443-1444, begins not with the clashing of swords, but with the silent, terrible weight of revelation. Wang Lin's white hair flutters like a herald of the storm, his ethereal fire blazing across thousands of beasts whose cries still echo in the misty void. Yet even as life force surges into him, the horizon shivers with a foreboding pulse. 9 colossal platforms, each a harbinger of unseen power, tear through spatial rifts with a silence that speaks louder than any roar. The kneeling ancient god, the mutilated demon and devil, the blood-stained rivers, these are not mere obstacles, but omens, and Wang Lin must navigate them all while the cultivators around him teeter between awe and murderous envy. Every heartbeat tightens the tension, for in this tomb, what is revealed is only a shadow of what awaits. A hidden current of power gripped the heavens themselves. Far above the abyssal fog sea, 25 ancient stone platforms drifted forward at an impossible velocity. As if dragged by an unseen hand from the depths of time, their movement defied reason. It was not flight, it was not drift. It was as though the very world had seized them and was pulling them toward a predetermined fate. Their speed was terrifyingly precise, comparable to a heaven's blight cultivator moving at full burst. On one of these trembling platforms stood Wang Lin. Wind howled violently past him, tearing at his robes and whipping his hair backward as the platform tore through the void. The fog around him twisted and fractured under the pressure of their movement, swirling like a living storm trying to keep up. Yet Wang Lin's eyes remained calm, cold, measured. From the moment he entered this ancient order tomb, he had been watching, observing every anomaly, every distortion, every impossible rule woven into this place like invisible threads. Nothing here was natural, nothing here was safe, and so he did not act rashly. He waited, he studied, he allowed the unknown to reveal its own intentions. Below him stretched the fog sea, endless, bottomless, a void so deep it felt like it had no end in this world, or any other. And yet, Wang Lin felt it. Somewhere beneath that endless white mist, something was watching. Not one pair of eyes, perhaps many. A silent gaze, locked onto every cultivator drifting through this tomb like prey drifting through a predator's domain. Wang Lin's thoughts sharpened. There were many who entered this ancient order tomb, he considered silently. Yet all of us were separated. It is likely we are all being carried on these platforms, just like I am. Time passed slowly. Only the roar of wind and the trembling motion of the platform marked its passage. Hours blurred together. Then Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Ahead, the fog began to distort. Not naturally, it twisted as if space itself was being folded and torn apart. Before he could examine it further, the platform surged forward like an arrow released from a divine bow, and the world changed. Cries of shock erupted around him as the 25 cultivators on the same platform were thrown into alert. What appeared before them was not fog. It was a sealed world, a tomb that had been buried for tens of thousands of years without a single living soul entering it. The space was massive, hundreds of feet across, but it was not open. Instead, countless spatial rifts formed a cage, sealing this entire region like an imprisoned realm. Their platform emerged from one of these rifts like a key unlocking a forgotten prison. And what lay beyond was drenched in red. The sky was red, not sunset, but a blood-soaked crimson that felt like it had never known daylight. The ground was real earth, not fog, and across that earth flowed rivers of blood. Genuine rivers. Slow, thick, endless. A stench of iron and death slammed into their senses the moment they arrived. At the center of this horrifying world, something enormous knelt, a being so vast it reached tens of thousands of feet into the sky, an ancient god. Its body was forced into submission, kneeling on one leg while its expression twisted in eternal fury. Between its brows was a massive, horrifying hole, still bleeding even after countless ages. Blood poured endlessly from that wound, trailing down its face like an eternal tear before dripping into the cursed land below. One of its knees had collapsed. The bone beneath was dark, shattered, and exposed. It was not a posture of surrender. It was forced humiliation, as if something had broken its body so thoroughly that even its pride could not resist the kneel. And upon its bent back, it carried a platform, a massive structure over 10,000 feet wide. It was soaked in blood-red mist, so dense that nothing within could be seen clearly. Yet from within that mist pulsed faint waves of suppression, an ancient restriction, sealing something within the platform itself. To the right of the ancient god knelt another colossal being, a figure roughly 4,000 feet tall. It had a single horn protruding from its skull, its face twisted into something savage and unwilling. Its left eye burned with madness and resentment. Its right eye, however, was gone. Only a hollow socket remained, still leaking blood after all these ages. To the left of the ancient god knelt a third entity, a 3,000-foot ancient demon. Its posture was just as broken. Its left eye was empty, violently removed. Its remaining eye was filled with fear. The ancient god bore the platform, while the ancient demon and ancient devil-like beings knelt beside it, as if they were not prisoners, but worshippers, or perhaps offerings. The sight was so unnatural, so blasphemous, that several cultivators instinctively cried out in shock, but there was no time to process it, because below the floating platforms, something else was awakening. On the ground beside the blood rivers, countless humanoid beasts stirred, tens of thousands of them, a living tide of feral existence. Some devoured the blood rivers greedily, some tore into each other in savage combat, others simply stood still. Until now, all of them lifted their heads, and their eyes locked onto the intruders. Silence fell for a single breath. Then, a roar erupted, a roar from tens of thousands of throats. It merged into a single catastrophic wave of sound that smashed upward into the sky like a collapsing mountain. Several weaker cultivators immediately coughed blood. Their bodies shook violently under the impact. Two of them lost control of their platforms entirely. They were flung downward into the sea of beasts. Before they could even struggle, countless monstrous figures surged over them like a starving tide. When the beasts finally scattered, nothing remained, only fragments. The rest of the cultivators' expressions changed instantly. Fear appeared, but only for a moment. Then greed returned, because they understood something. These beasts contained life force, immense life force. And in this place, life force meant recovery, power, survival. Wang Lin's eyes sharpened as well. If I devour all these beasts, he thought coldly, my injuries will recover completely. A faint glint appeared in his gaze. He had entered late, which meant more than a dozen cultivators were already ahead of him in positioning. And those cultivators also understood the value of this opportunity. Their eyes burned with ambition. They would not allow Wang Lin to monopolize it. Hostility rose instantly. A tacit agreement formed among them without words. If that white-robed cultivator tries to take too much, they will kill him. The fat cultivator with a round body raised his abacus-like artifact, smiling faintly as he spoke. White-haired fellow cultivator, you are not allowed to kill more than 10 beasts. If you exceed that limit, do not blame this lord for being ruthless. I will refine your soul myself. A thin man in black robes followed immediately, voice icy and sharp. Kill even one extra, and you will die here. No one will save you. A man in purple clothing, with a savage beast-like presence behind him, roared loudly. You are strong, yes, but do not think you can act alone. If you anger us, you can get lost from our group and face death alone. Stay and I will make your corpse scream. An old woman covered in a green robe, her body oozing a strange pus-like aura, let out a raspy voice. This fellow cultivator is far too reckless. Opportunities here belong to all. If you become greedy, even this old body will not tolerate it. I will kill you myself if necessary. Strength means nothing if you do not obey the rules. A middle-aged man holding a white jug in his left hand shook his head while drinking. You are strong, but you clearly do not understand restraint. Wasting your talent like this is foolish, truly a pity. Do you think you are some third-step existence? As he spoke, he already charged forward into the battlefield. The rest followed. Killing intent filled the air. The Sealing Extermination Clan woman observed this with a brief flash of satisfaction in her eyes, though it quickly faded when she recalled Wang Lin's terrifying nature. Wang Lin remained unmoved, cold, unshaken. A faint chill appeared in his gaze. Ethereal fire flickered within his left eye. He snorted once, and instead of retreating, he moved forward faster, like a meteor tearing through space. He overtook every cultivator ahead of him and charged directly toward the beast's tide. A wave of shock erupted behind him. What arrogance! You dare? You're courting death." But Wang Lin did not answer. He raised his right hand. The world trembled, a single motion, and a terrifying surge of ethereal fire erupted outward like a divine storm. In an instant, nearly 1,000 beasts were engulfed. Their bodies ignited without resistance. Their screams filled the air as their forms twisted in agony. White streams of life force rose from their burning remains and surged into Wang Lin's body. The ethereal fire spread further, like a living sea of destruction. Beasts fell by the hundreds, then thousands, 3,000, 8,000, 10,000. The battlefield became an inferno. Black ash drifted through the sky like falling snow. Life force surged endlessly into Wang Lin's origin soul, accelerating his recovery at a monstrous rate. And then, his injuries vanished, fully restored. The fire continued to burn, devouring everything in its path. And as it spread, the flames slowly returned, back toward Wang Lin, gathering into his left eye once more. The battlefield fell into stunned silence. Then Wang Lin spoke. His voice was calm, but deadly cold. "Who said they wanted to kill me?" He turned. His gaze swept across the stunned cultivators, and in his left eye, 9-colored ethereal fire burned like a divine flame of judgment. Shock exploded among the crowd. "Ethereal fire cultivator! It's really an ethereal fire cultivator! How is this possible? A being like that only appears once every tens of thousands of years. He just wiped out tens of thousands of beasts with a wave of his hand. I actually thought about killing him." Fear spread like poison. Those who had spoken moments ago now retreated instinctively, their faces pale, their confidence shattered. Even the woman in white, who had remained calm until now, could not hide the shock in her eyes. A strange light flickered within her gaze as she looked at Wang Lin again. And all that remained in the air was the sound of countless hearts pounding in silence. In the silence before the storm, a single man stood like a blade drawn from its sheath. Wang Lin's eyes moved slowly across the retreating cultivators. Each of them carried turbulent emotions, fear, greed, unease, boiling inside their chests like unstable qi. He understood something very clearly. When emotions are stirred to the peak, they become weapons, invisible ones, and sometimes far more deadly than spells. But he did not act, not yet. This place, the Ancient Order tomb, was not a simple battlefield. It was a sealed land filled with unknown dangers. Even Wang Lin, with all his experience, would not recklessly slaughter without understanding the rules hidden in the mist. He had no interest in meaningless killing. What he wanted was dominance, pressure, control. And above all, he wanted these people to fear him just enough to obey, but not enough to unite against him. Because if a group of strong cultivators were pushed into a corner, they would become something even he would have to respect. Wang Lin preferred efficiency. He rarely killed without benefit. Cold winds swept past him. His long white hair drifted like threads of frost. Within his left eye, 9-colored flame quietly rotated like a miniature sun of destruction, hidden behind his gaze. The moment anyone met his eyes, their faces turned pale. It felt as if they were being seen through, as if every secret, every weakness, every flaw had been exposed. Then his voice finally broke the silence. "You once said." Wang Lin spoke slowly, his tone calm yet carrying a pressure that made the air heavy. "If I killed more than 10 beasts here, you would kill me and refine my soul?" His right hand lifted, and he pointed directly at the obese cultivator holding a wooden abacus. The fat cultivator's entire body shook violently. His flesh trembled like a water surface struck by a storm. Sweat instantly poured down his face. Inwardly, bitterness surged like a poison tide. He had miscalculated. He had never imagined this man was an ethereal fire cultivator. Refining the soul of someone with ethereal fire? That was not ambition. That was suicide wrapped in arrogance. Before he could even begin the refinement, his own body would likely be turned to ash. Wang Lin's gaze grew colder by the moment. The killing intent hidden in his eyes flickered, just slightly. But that single flicker made the fat cultivator feel as if a blade had already touched his throat. Panic erupted in his chest. A burning sensation rose inside him, as if invisible flames were already crawling through his organs. His throat went dry. Without hesitation, he waved his hand frantically and produced a stone-like scale artifact. Fellow cultivator," he stammered, forcing a strained smile that looked worse than crying. Indeed, I said such words. I was blind, Please forgive this offense." He hurried forward and offered the scale. "This was obtained from the platform. Please accept it as compensation." Wang Lin extended his hand. The scale drifted into his palm. He examined it briefly, coldly, without emotion, then casually pushed it aside as if it held no value at all. His gaze moved away and landed on another person. "You said," Wang Lin's voice lowered like the calm before execution, "if I took one more beast than allowed, I would die here." A faint pause. "I'll give you the chance." The fat cultivator, now ignored, nearly collapsed in relief. But the one who had been chosen was not so fortunate. The cultivator in black trembled slightly, yet his eyes remained closed. It was as if he were blind to the world, or perhaps refusing to see it. He sat there silently, expression dark and unreadable. After a brief moment of hesitation, he stood. He clasped his hands toward Wang Lin. Then, with a flick of his sleeve, a black sword flew out. It was wrapped in dense demonic energy, howling faintly like a trapped ghost. The black-clothed cultivator spoke quietly. "My actions were reckless. I ask fellow cultivator not to take offense." Wang Lin caught the sword. His eyes narrowed slightly. This man was interesting. Although his emotional fluctuations were weak, there was something hidden within him. A seal. Something deep between his eyebrows, suppressed, restrained, waiting. Wang Lin could sense it. If that seal broke, something extraordinary would awaken. But he said nothing. Instead, his gaze shifted again. "And you?" His voice turned sharper. "The one who told me to scram from here." A faint pause. "If I refused, you would turn my corpse into something that scrams itself?" The man in purple instantly stiffened. Sweat poured from his forehead like rain. Beside him, a strange, fish-shaped shadow floated behind his back, trembling as well. He quickly forced a bitter smile. Without saying a word, he produced a gourd-shaped treasure and offered it forward. His heart bled. That treasure had been the first he obtained here. Now it was gone. A careless word, he thought painfully, and I paid the price. Wang Lin did not linger. He moved again. His gaze fell upon the old woman in green. This one, Wang Lin said slowly, was quite confident. "If I refused to obey, you would kill me?" The old woman did not respond immediately. Her eyes were strange, calm, too calm, as if emotions had been buried deep beneath layers of time. Even Wang Lin could not fully read her. Then, suddenly, Wang Lin moved, like lightning tearing through the void. He appeared directly in front of her. The distance vanished in an instant. The old woman's expression turned solemn. She retreated at once. Her hands formed a seal in midair, and space itself began to distort. Origin energy surged outward like a collapsing storm. But Wang Lin followed. He stepped into the distortion without hesitation. His right hand rose and struck. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of collision echoed endlessly. In a single breath, dozens of exchanges erupted between them. The air fractured, space trembled. The surrounding cultivators were forced to retreat rapidly, unable to withstand the pressure of their battle. The old woman coughed blood. Her face turned pale. But she did not stop. She retreated once more, eyes flashing with cold determination. Then she opened her mouth. A pink mist erupted outward. It spread like a blooming flower of illusion. A fragrance followed. Sweet, dangerously sweet. Wang Lin's vision blurred. For a moment, reality shifted. Illusions appeared. And within those illusions, figures he knew, people he had once encountered, people he had once killed, people he had once loved, all stood there, staring at him. The world around him trembled emotionally. Even the other cultivators nearby were affected. Confusion filled their eyes. To them, Wang Lin was no longer himself. He had become the enemy of their closest kin. Anger erupted in their hearts. A girl from the Ceiling Extermination Clan narrowed her eyes. "This is," she murmured in shock, "Ceiling Phantom Clan technique." At that moment, Wang Lin raised his hand. His finger moved forward. The illusions collided with his strike. Boom! The pink mist shattered violently. It could not withstand the force of his will. Time itself seemed to bend. A strange ancient aura emerged, as if a desolate gate from the wind celestial realm had opened within his mind. That aura gathered on his fingertip and pierced forward. Straight between the old woman's brows, her body trembled violently. She was thrown backward, coughing blood. At the same moment, the hidden seal inside her broke. Ethereal fire erupted from within her body like a suppressed volcano, finally awakened. A mark between her eyebrows shattered, replaced instead by the faint image of a woman's back. A scream echoed within the fire. piercing, miserable. The surrounding cultivators instantly regained clarity. Fear filled their eyes. Sealing Phantom spell! She's from the Sealing Phantom clan, one of the 3 great clans. The words spread like shockwaves. Wang Lin stood calmly in the air. He had not killed her, not because he could not, but because he had already seen what he needed to see. Understanding the technique was enough. He withdrew his killing intent. With a single thought, the ethereal fire around the old woman was sealed. It retreated back into her body, condensing into a seed, a restriction, a mark of control. The old woman's face turned deathly pale. She looked at Wang Lin, fear, pure fear. After a long silence, she took out her treasure and handed it over. The other cultivators followed quickly. One by one, they produced their treasures, trying to erase their earlier arrogance. Even the girl from the Sealing Extermination clan quietly offered hers. Only the woman in white did not panic. She looked at Wang Lin deeply. A faint smile appeared on her face. Then, without hesitation, her platform lifted into the sky. She spoke softly as her figure faded into a spatial rift. There is a treasure within this sealed land. If you are interested, we will meet again. Her voice disappeared into the void. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed slightly. He said nothing, but his attention was already drawn elsewhere. Above the ancient god, ancient devil, and ancient demon, a massive 10,000-foot platform floated, covered in red mist, sealing something unknown, something dangerous. Then, the world suddenly trembled. A violent roar echoed from the horizon. Space distorted. 9 enormous platforms tore through the sky, arriving like descending mountains. A cold voice echoed across the battlefield. There are people here. Good. Hand over all treasures obtained from the platforms, and stand aside. Pressure descended like a collapsing heaven. The ancient order tomb was no longer silent. New predators had arrived.